But I'm telling you right now that it is real, that it is painful, it is brutal. And I'm standing here before you, willing to take the hate, willing to take all the negative messages and tell you that I beg you to wake up, to speak out, and to not fall for this lie.
Because Micky McCoy's wife leaked text messages that could completely change how we understand the Charlie Kirk case. Screenshots, voice memos, and private conversations. All of it together. A chain of evidence that makes you stop and say, wait, what is this? If these leaks are true, they suggest more than just internal tension or behind-the-scenes gossip. They suggest that Erika Kirk and some high-ranking figures within Turning Point USA may have known something in advance, before it all fell apart.
Did Erika Kirk just accidentally expose TPUSA for lying?
How did you find out Charlie had been shot?
I was at my mom's doctor's appointment. I put my phone down and it was on silent, so I had no reason to look back at it. I moved my mom. I went back to grab my phone, and that's when Micky started calling me. Called me within seconds.
She said that Micky called her within seconds, which does line up with this clip of Micky McCoy, Charlie Kirk's chief of staff, picking up his phone as soon as Charlie was shot. We talked about this a couple weeks ago and about how bizarre and weird it was, his reaction, not running, not jumping to Charlie's aid, but instead making an immediate phone call, kind of like he knew that things were about to go down. Not saying he did, but that's what it looked like. And this led to the TPUSA folks responding, saying, no, Micky was actually not on the phone.
They're alleging that he was on the phone immediately. He was not. He was taking social videos, which he would send to our group chat, which we would then put on Charlie's social while the event was happening, so you could see like the crowd come in or his interactions. And we were only 2 questions into this event, so he was still getting it out to all the chats he needed to do, which he did at every event. He turns around and it was so blaringly loud, I'm told. You would know this better than I, but this is what I'm told. It was so blaringly loud and he was so shell-shocked. He put his fingers in his ear, but his phone was still in his hand.
Okay, so now we have 2 different sides of the story. Erika says that Micky called her within seconds, but Andrew Colvett here says that Micky was not on his phone, but rather just putting his hands up to cover his ears from the loud noise. Some may see this as a small detail, a potential small lie, but what I'll say to that is people who tell small lies also tend to tell bigger lies at some point. So Micky, we're going to want to see that call up.
Little lies often lead to bigger lies. And so, Micky, maybe it's time for everyone to see the call log. Because if there was a call before the cameras caught everything, before Charlie got into trouble, it would completely change how we understand this story. Netizens called it a silent betrayal. And what stunned everyone most was, the leaks didn't come from an outsider looking for attention or fame. They came from the wife of the man at the center of the chaos, who was seen calmly picking up the phone just seconds before it all went down. From that moment on, the familiar footage suddenly became different. Every word in Erika Kirk's post-incident speech, every odd thank you, now carried a sense of unease. Because when your husband's chief of staff acts suspiciously, and his wife starts releasing private evidence, it's clear that there's something going on behind the scenes that no one wants to talk about. The internet didn't just wake up one morning and decide to accuse Turning Point USA of hiding something. It all started with a single post. Late one night, a mysterious account, later linked to Micky McCoy's wife, posted what appeared to be screenshots and a private recording. No caption, no explanation, just a short chilling message. They all know. Within minutes, the screenshots went viral. Inside were details about the timing, the security coordination, and especially a chilling quote, said to be from Micky McCoy himself. Erika Kirk knew. Just 4 words, but enough to ignite a storm of public opinion. People began to wonder, what did Erika know, and what was she preparing for? A recording of what was believed to be a voice memo also emerged, a woman's voice trembling as she said, "I can't keep quiet anymore. This is not an accident." Many believed it was Micky McCoy's wife, while others believed it was just a friend trying to protect her. Whatever the truth, the tone of the voice was filled with fear and torment. Then came the explosive discovery. The timestamps in the leaked messages almost exactly matched the viral video from the event, where Micky quietly picked up his phone just before the incident. What had once been dismissed as a coincidence now looked unusually suspicious. The internet exploded. On Reddit, in TikTok videos, and on Twitter X, thousands of people were dissecting each frame, asking the same question. What did Erika Kirk and the TPUSA team really know before the incident? Because if the leaked data was even partially true, what happened that day was no longer chaos. It could have been a premeditated setup. So what exactly was in those messages that had the internet spinning? According to what was circulating, the screenshots showed a private group chat between Micky, several Turning Point USA employees, and someone labeled EK, believed to be Erika Kirk. The messages weren't long, but the few lines were enough to send chills down anyone's spine. Everything is ready. Stay calm. We've rehearsed this. Make sure the cameras are still running. Erika already knows. And those 4 words, Erika already knows, are now a phrase that haunts the internet. Because if those words are true, they will completely change how the world views that day. As people dug deeper, a new detail emerged. The timestamp of the leaked messages was said to have taken place just hours before the event. And right around that time, Micky McCoy's wife posted a cryptic Instagram story. The truth always finds its way out. The post disappeared after just a few minutes, but it was enough to trigger a wave of intense speculation. Within 24 hours, dozens of content creators and independent investigators had reposted the leaks with captions like, "Did TPUSA orchestrate this whole thing? Was Charlie betrayed by his own group?"
Yeah, when the clip was brought to my attention, I obviously have a file, a big folder of files of every angle, and I decided to track Micky from every angle available to see, like, maybe we just missed it, and he did at some point put that phone down, dial a number, speed dial, hold down one, I don't know. Maybe we missed it, because that seems automatic, right? 0.834, that seems pretty quick. And no, he doesn't do that. We even have him in front of Charlie's car. When Charlie is brought to the car, the waiting car rather, he is still on the phone. I can show you the clip of that. Take a look at this. Don't worry, we'll slow it down for you. See him in the background with the backpack. Let's go back a little earlier in the footage and see if we can find when he actually maybe dials onto the phone. Maybe we can see him pick up the phone and begin a call before the shot takes off. And then after beginning that call, if we're following this logic, that would mean he puts his phone down until Charlie gets shot. And we were able to find what we think could be that moment. And I can tell you that it is 1 minute and 45 seconds approximately before that shot goes off. And we can watch that here. You see Micky's on his phone here. And you're going to see he pulls it up and he starts to cover his ear again. Now, that could be unrelated. Again, we're taking a guess here. That's what made the most sense to us because we couldn't justify it in any other way. And I want to be clear, we're not here to make assumptions, okay? And we wouldn't have to make any assumptions if Turning Point USA could just tell the truth. They could just be open and they could be honest about everything. Okay, I obviously went out to both Micky McCoy and Andrew Colvett for a statement. Asked those 2 questions. Hey, who were you on the phone with? What's going on here? No response. Weird. Because if that was me and I saw clips going viral and people were drawing conclusions from that clip, thinking that I was already on the phone, thinking that my reaction was weird, I would instantly hit back. I'd say, here's my call log. You want to know who I was on the phone with? 911, obviously. I was freaking out. I called 911. I didn't know what I was doing. Here's my phone. Here's my whole call log for that day. But this is, I don't know. I guess we live in a world where that doesn't make sense. I would have issued a statement to dispel any rumors, but they have not. Here's what I want to say, and I honestly understand I'm preaching to the choir here. Everything about this is wrong. You know it, and I know it. But I actually know it better than most because I helped build that organization.
The story went viral. Every frame of the event video was re-examined second by second. Every look, every pause in Erika Kirk's speech suddenly looked carefully calculated. But what no one expected was, these leaks didn't just reveal the content of the messages. They also suggested signs of coordination, strategy, and a collective silence. The kind that only happens when everyone is playing a role. And then, the clip that broke the internet appeared. You've probably seen it. Slow motion video from the TPUSA tent area. Charlie Kirk is speaking, the crowd is silent, and right behind him is Micky McCoy. In the split second before the incident, Micky makes a move that looks like it was pre-planned. Picks up the phone, puts it to his ear, turns away, and calmly walks out of the frame. It's a gesture that only lasts 2 seconds, but those 2 seconds sent the internet into a frenzy. No panic, no spontaneous reaction, no turning toward a colleague in trouble. Instead, there was a suspicious calmness, as if he were saying in a wordless language, "I knew this would happen." And when people juxtaposed the clip with messages that allegedly read, Stay calm if it happens. The coincidence was too perfect to ignore. The online reaction was immediate. TikTok zoomed in on every movement. Reddit slowed down each frame to analyze it. Twitter, X, turned it into a massive digital investigation. A second camera angle even showed Micky McCoy leaving the frame just seconds before the incident. The moment, down to the last second, stunned observers and the online community. For many, it was no coincidence anymore. It was the final piece of the puzzle that made the whole story more suspicious than ever. And then, the most shocking detail. When the clip pauses at 6 seconds, viewers can see Micky McCoy's lips move, as if he's speaking into the phone. But there's no ringtone, no vibration, no signal of any kind. It's as if the call was already connected. So when the leaks say Erika knew, and the footage shows Micky seemingly on the phone before the chaos even began, it's no longer a rumor. It's a haunting, recurring motif. The question is everywhere. Is Micky reporting something or signaling that the time has come? A few days after the event, with the public still reeling, Erika Kirk takes the stage for the first time. The lights flash, the room falls silent. She delivers an emotional speech, remembering her late husband. But what set social media ablaze wasn't the tears. It was the name she repeatedly emphasized. I want to thank the board of directors of Turning Point USA and my husband's amazing chief of staff, Micky McCoy. She said it once, then again, in the same tone but louder and clearer. Micky McCoy is amazing. The internet exploded immediately. Why the emphasis on him, the man seen leaving the frame just seconds before Charlie's accident? The man whose wife is said to have leaked the evidence that sent social media into a frenzy? Within hours, Erika's speech was all over TikTok, Reddit, and X. The caption on the video read, "It sounds like it was scripted." Meanwhile, Reddit users commented that her tone sounded like a well-rehearsed public speaking speech. And the moment of remembrance suddenly became the center of a new storm of suspicion. Even body language experts chimed in. They pointed to Erika's slight smile whenever Micky's name was mentioned, and the brief downward glance that followed, as if she were following a pre-planned cue. But what really caught people's attention was the timing. Leaks, allegedly from Micky's wife, circulated online, making Erika's speech look less like a forced response, and more like a strategic move to control damage, as if she were reframing the entire story before the public could question Micky McCoy's role. From there, a question began to spread. Was that thank you really just a public courtesy, or a clever defense of a man she knew was at the center of a storm of suspicion? And from that moment, the entire story began to unravel rapidly. Just days after the event, Micky's father, Pastor Rob McCoy, came forward to say that his son was with Charlie during the chaos and helped him through the situation. The story sounds noble and emotional, but there's one small problem. The video of the event doesn't show it. Micky doesn't approach Charlie, doesn't offer any assistance, but instead walks out of the frame, phone to his ear, and disappears behind the tent area. Then Erika Kirk told her version. She told the New York Times that Micky called her just seconds after the incident, saying he was in trouble and needed help. However, the timestamps in the leaked screenshots don't exactly match. According to those records, Micky's phone appears to have been connected before the incident began. The contradictions began to mount inexplicably. Rob McCoy claimed his son called him first. Erika said she was the first to receive the call. No one mentioned the group call, and no one explained why the timestamps overlapped. Yet both sides believed they were the first to hear from Micky, a timeline that cannot coexist. What was even more surprising was the official response from Turning Point USA. The statement was released almost overnight, with spokesperson Rush praising Micky as a hero under immense pressure, but without mentioning or explaining any of the contradictions in the story. But every attempt to clarify seemed to only make things more confusing, because every version contradicted the video, and every defense sounded rehearsed. Now, people were asking not whether there was a cover-up, but how many people were really involved, and why each new explanation felt like a script that had been rewritten 3 times. After the leaks, the viral video, and the confusing timelines caused a public outcry, Turning Point USA did what large organizations often do when a story starts to spiral out of control. They went into crisis mode overnight. According to internal reports, the PR team was directed to take back control of the story, and almost immediately, a series of articles began to appear, all portraying Micky McCoy as a man of faith, calm, and loyalty amid the chaos.
This is one of Charlie's guys. And it makes me so effing mad.
Hello, everyone. My name is Micky McCoy. I had the unique honor, blessing, and privilege of a lifetime to not only call Charlie a precious friend, mentor, but to travel with him literally everywhere.
Then came the elaborate tribute videos, flashy lighting, moving music, all sending a unified message. Micky was a hero, but the public wasn't convinced. The internet quickly realized the timing was too perfect. Just a week after the leak broke, Micky appeared at Liberty University, speaking about Charlie Kirk's unwavering vision and legacy. The speech flowed perfectly. No inconsistencies mentioned, no explanation of the mysterious call, just an incredibly smooth performance. To many, it felt less like a public memorial and more like a carefully choreographed media rehearsal. And then, things took a darker turn. Micky McCoy's wife's social media accounts disappeared, posts deleted, profile locked, comments disabled. Rumors quickly spread that TPUSA lawyers had stepped in to stop the spread of misinformation. But to the public, it didn't feel like a reputation-protecting move. It felt like a deliberate silence. Behind the scenes, insiders whispered that NDAs were being renewed and updated. Employees were warned to avoid posting anything online, and TPUSA's internal Slack channels, which were once bustling with activity, became eerily quiet. It was like a panic. But the strange thing is, the more TPUSA insisted it had nothing to hide, the more suspicious things became. Because when an organization tries so hard to bury a story, it usually means someone, somewhere, has finally come forward. The weight of these leaks comes not just from the shock, but from their source. Not a journalist, not a political opponent, but Micky McCoy's own wife, the only person who knew the most private side of the man whose frame-by-frame social media was analyzing. The man had been out of the picture while his best friend was dealing with the crisis. And when someone so close decides to speak up, it completely changes the weight of the story. The messages attributed to her don't sound like harmless gossip. They carried with them a sense of guilt, a kind of guilt that comes from witnessing something you can't keep quiet about. They knew. I wish I'd said something sooner. Those two words were enough to rock TPUSA's world. Because if she was even half right, it meant that the people Charlie Kirk trusted most could have been preparing for something long before that fateful day. And from that moment, every elaborate tribute, every moving speech, every public thank you suddenly sounded less like heartfelt grief and more like a sophisticated damage control operation. And then, look at what happened next. Within days of the leak, TPUSA's top executives began flooding the internet with tributes, posts, and videos praising Micky. The gentle, carefully crafted tone carries the same message of comfort and protection. Micky McCoy's image is everywhere, on podcasts, in speeches, and even in press releases. But instead of calming the public, it only reinforces the belief that something is really hidden behind the bright lights. He didn't disappear. He was being repositioned, as if the organization understood that the only way to quell a crisis was to drown it in the media spotlight. Meanwhile, Micky McCoy chose absolute silence. No public statements, no explanation of who he called, no expression of emotion in his rare appearances, only careful notes about faith, purpose, and forgiveness. His wife's social media disappeared. Her friends' pages were locked. Some accounts claiming to know her said she was told not to talk. Others said she was scared, and then silent. But sometimes, the silence is louder than any statement. Because when someone accused of lying is truly innocent, they often speak up. They post screenshots, videos, evidence. But in this case, nothing. No lawsuits countering the rumors. No cease and desist orders, just a carefully orchestrated silence. And that's exactly why the internet won't let this story die down. It feels less like a rumor and more like a calculated cover-up. Every detail follows a familiar pattern: deny, mislead, then disappear. And now, as viewers watch the footage with the leaks in mind, it's almost impossible not to notice the little cracks, the well-timed glances, the barely there acknowledgements, the people who always seem to say what needs to be said, but never say too much. Because if that's true, if Micky McCoy's wife did in fact reveal evidence that some people in TPUSA, perhaps even Erika Kirk herself, were involved in what happened, then we're no longer talking about a random chain of events. We're talking about an orchestrated tragedy, disguised as fate. And perhaps that's why this story is more important than anyone would like to admit. Because it's not just about what happened that day. It's about what it brings to light. Power, image, and loyalty can distort the truth to the point where it no longer seems human. Pain becomes a brand, and the bright smiles on stage can hide secrets deeper than anyone could imagine. Because, in the end, this isn't just a story about a wife's leaks. It's a story about the people she fears most, those who choose to stay silent, those who rewrite the story, and those who keep repeating the name, the great Micky McCoy. And maybe, just maybe, the reason they speak so loudly is because they fear what will happen when the world finally believes her. All stories like this end the same way, not with answers, but with silence. A silence that feels like someone is standing outside the frame, watching, and making sure no one says a wrong word. And that's exactly what's happening here. After weeks of speculation, leaked screenshots, and widespread chaos, Turning Point USA has now gone completely silent. There's been no follow-up response, no interviews, and not even an official statement from Erika Kirk herself to clarify the allegations. Instead, what the public sees are glowing Instagram posts, energetic new projects, and short quotes about faith in dark times. Everything is too perfect, too clean, too polished for a story as conflicted and mysterious as this. Because behind the scenes, the puzzle is still incomplete, and the missing pieces may be the most dangerous part of all. We have the video that shows Micky McCoy leaving the stage just seconds before Charlie Kirk collapsed. We have his wife, who has revealed what she calls evidence, that a group of people knew something in advance. We have two different timelines, one from Erika, one from Micky's father, and they don't match up at all. And finally, we have Turning Point USA, a media behemoth built on controlling the message, but one that avoids the one question the public keeps asking. What really happened that day? But what makes this story even more haunting and unforgettable is the human element. The idea that the person standing next to you on stage, someone you trust implicitly, could know something you don't. That's what makes it all so quietly terrifying. And when you look back at the smiles, the handshakes, the public thanks, you begin to wonder, are they really remembering, or are they trying to keep things from falling apart? Because behind the dazzling smiles on stage, there is a silence so loud it almost screams. Every time someone says, "Micky McCoy is awesome," it no longer sounds like a tribute. It sounds like a scripted line, a line everyone is forced to repeat until the audience stops asking questions. And then there's his wife, the only one who dares to break that script. Maybe she's angry, maybe she's scared, or maybe she just can't bear to see it continue. But whatever the reason, she broke the illusion. And when that illusion collapses, no amount of media campaigning can rebuild it. So what are we left with? A broken story, conflicting timelines, deleted posts, and millions of people online who refuse to forget. Because the truth, the real truth, never disappears. It hides in the gaps between words, in the clipped videos, and in statements so polished they can't possibly come naturally. And perhaps that's the real lesson here. In a world built on images and perception control, silence is no longer peace, it's a strategy. So the next time you hear a story that's too smooth, too perfect, too staged, remember this one. Remember the mysterious leaks, the conflicting timelines, and the forced smiles? Because behind all the noise, the flash, and the perfect excuses, someone knows exactly what happened. And who knows, one day, when the silence becomes too heavy to bear, we will hear the truth. Not from speeches, but from the one who saw it all. According to public sources, this story is attracting attention in the online community. We only report what is of interest to the public, without any intention to confirm or speculate about anyone's private life. All information is for entertainment and commentary purposes only. Thank you for watching the video to the end. If you find this content interesting, please like, subscribe to the channel, and comment your thoughts below because each of your opinions helps to complete the story.